We're going to learn how to meal prep and track macros tonight. That's what we're going to talk about. That is, like I said, from last week, tracking your food every single day, at least 5 days a week. We talked about why that's just so important. We looked at that data. We know that's important now. And, getting apps figured out and stuff. That was last week. Trial and error. I think everybody's got it now. Now that isn't kind of quite so overwhelming, let's actually go through and kind of do this together. We're going to use, I used one of y'all's eating guides. So one of you got lucky, and this is exactly from your eating guide that I made a meal plan, or not a meal plan, but a meal prep out of. So how to meal prep. So just a little note here before we get started. We're going to be doing a lot of math and finding exact numbers, doing this. That way we have a target. We have a very precise target, but life is not lived in a spreadsheet. Life is lived out in the world. Like I just said about change being messy, like there's no way you're going to be dialed in perfect. And as we'll talk about later tonight, that's probably not a good thing anyways. So our rule is if we are within 5% on a calculation, if it makes it easier for you grocery shopping or while you're cooking or whatever, we don't worry about it. If you're 95% correct, that's an A+. That is fantastic. And I'll say 10%, honestly. When I talk with my own clients, I usually do a 10% leeway above or below. For you guys, it won't be a little tighter, but this is just for example's sake, we're going to go with 5%. So here's going to be the process. Here's what we're going to, and we got all kinds of stuff down here to go through. So this is going to be really good for you. But first thing we're going to do, which we've already done for you, this is if anybody wants to meal prep, you're going to need to decide your daily calories and macros. So in EverFit, not in MyFitnessPal, because it probably gave you some crazy calculations that are not correct. But in EverFit and the eating guide that you got emailed from me, you have your daily calories and macros. Then from there, you have to decide, okay, if I'm going to eat 100 grams, let's make it easy on me, 99 grams of protein a day, carbohydrate, or whatever, you're going to divide that by the number of meals that you eat. So if I eat 3 meals a day and I'm eating 99 grams of protein, I'm going to eat 33 grams of protein per meal. Pretty good. Then I'm going to move on to planning my protein per meal, and we're going to see why that's important in a second. I'm going to assess the leftover fat requirements for that. And then we're going to talk about what to do about that right here in these yellow boxes. Then we're going to go to the grocery store. We're going to shop. We're going to cook, and then we're going to try everything out, and we're going to make necessary adjustments. So let me see if I can't find a way to show the chat, just in case you guys are sending me stuff, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. So if you guys have questions, you're just going to yell at me using your microphone here. So let's dive in. So for our mystery person who I used here, their eating guide said that their targets for their goals was 1,857 calories a day, made up of 167 grams of protein, 67 grams of fat, and 150 grams of carbohydrate. I believe those numbers are still correct. So you guys all have that. You all have your own version of that. So this whole process applies, and it'll get very simple. So don't freak out that you got to sit and you got to make a whole spreadsheet like this. You can do this if, for those of you who are taking notes right now, you can just kind of jot down some bullet points, and you'll be able to do this on the back of a napkin in no time. And I've told a couple of you, and I want to kind of tell everybody, this is all trial and error. There is no magic. There's no secret that you're missing. You just got to do it. I know when you try the first time, it's overwhelming. So that's why we're going to do this. And all of you are going to meal prep some food this week. That is our goal. That is the biggest thing. If we can get that started by week 6, we'll have a whole month under our belt, and you're going to see some tremendous changes. So we have to do this. So we're 100%. We're going to go through this tonight, and then we're going to give this a shot this week, and then we're going to trial and error for the next 6 weeks. And then you're going to have it down, and all of your friends are going to be jealous. They're going to ask you how you do that, and they're going to wonder where you learned it. And there you go. So very quickly, just one small note. So this is something that you all have. How are these calories calculated? I know a lot of you may know this, but this is really helpful to understand for this process. So protein has 4 calories per gram. So if you eat a gram of protein, that yields 4 calories. Okay. If you eat a gram of carbohydrate, that's going to yield 4 calories. Now, calories is just energy. It's not necessarily nutrients like, you know, micronutrients, whatever. Fats is going to be 9 calories per gram. That doesn't mean that fat has more calories. It means that it's denser. That's all that it means, which means it's heavier. So you need twice the amount of carbohydrates to have the same weight, more or less. That's like the whole thing with like what weighs more, 100 pounds of feathers or 100 pounds of rocks. They weigh the same. There's, you know, obviously this isn't exactly that, but don't think that fats are bad or they have more calories in it, whatever. You get fuller, you get twice as full from a gram of fat because it has twice the calories. So therefore, like if you saw 10 grams of protein on a nutrition label, you would very quickly be able to rationalize that there's going to be 40 calories you're going to yield from that. Same thing, 10 grams of fat would be 90 calories. Okay. So when we look at, that's what is going to make this up. So if we do 150 times 4 plus 167 times 4 plus 67 times 9, you're going to get 1,857 if I didn't type these in here wrong. So we know now what we need every single day. Now, where your food comes from, if you all look through eating guides, you saw the green, yellow, and red columns for proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and you also had a eat the rainbow portion. But that's your food lists, right? Those are your protein sources, your fat sources. And remember, like we talked about last week, a protein source is not just protein, right? It's got other things in it. It's got other nutrients in it. It's got micronutrients. Sometimes it has other macronutrients. Most protein sources are typically going to have, as they're found in nature at least, and we know that that's what we need to be eating. Most protein sources are also going to have a little bit of fat with them. Most of the time, you get something like a chicken breast that's really, really lean, or you can sometimes find like most poultry will have a cut from that bird that is very lean and doesn't have very much fat on it at all, if any. However, we know where our food's coming from now. So let's just do the math and figure out what needs to go into our meal prep container. So this should be fairly simple for you guys. So I didn't change this. So these need to be swapped out just a little bit. But if you do this calculation divided by, I'm going to eat 3 times a day. That's what I'm going to do. So if you do these divided by 3, that means I need 618 calories, right? Which I don't even really have to worry about. Don't worry about that part quite as much yet. I'm going to start with my protein first. So I need 55 grams of protein. If I'm eating 3 times a day and I want to get somewhere in the ballpark of 160, 170 grams of protein, I'm going to need about 55 grams per meal. Then from there, I know I need 22 grams of fat and 50 grams of carbohydrate. So 50 times 3, 150 grams of carbohydrate. Now I hit my macros, I hit my calories. And if the person who gave me this gave me something that is correct, and I do this consistently, and this is calculated right, you're going to hit whatever goal it was that you told us your goal was when we made your eating guide for you. That's how that works. So to prepare to do that, this is my per meal calculation. And just notice here, this is a almost 700 calorie meal. Even if you go a little over, that's a good bit of food. And most people, when they think they're on a diet, they're like, I'm going to eat 200 calories or this little 100 calorie this or that. You're just going to be hungry. It's not going to do anything for you. So if we eat full whole meals, we're going to be in a lot better shape. So everybody good so far? Like I said, I can't see the chat. So if you have a question, please shout it out. And stop me at any point through this process. So what we're going to do, we have this as our per meal calculation now. Everybody get on that. I think that's pretty simple. Took our daily requirements, divided by the amount of meals that we're going to eat. And then now we have a per meal requirement for each day if we're going to be eating 3 meals a day. Okay, now we had to prep these meals. So these are the meals we're going to be eating with 55 grams of protein, 22 grams of fat, 50 grams of carbohydrate. When we plan out this meal, this is the part where we start to do some math. So if you guys could just kind of lock in here with me a little bit. And like I said, if you're taking notes, just do this with me and it'll really help you out. So I'm going to plan for around 50 grams of protein per meal. I know it says 55. Like I said, within 5-10%, we're going to be good. That's going to get us somewhere kind of close in here. And you're going to see how this all pretty much works out in the end, why you don't have to stress out over being perfect. So I'm going to plan my protein first. If you start with your carbohydrates or if you start with your fats when you're planning your food, you're going to get all jacked up. So we got to start with our protein first, is the most important nutrient, because our fats and carbs are interchangeable. That we just have to go calorie for calorie, which we're about to do, and we're good. So here's what we do. So we are going to pick a protein source. My favorite is ground beef. There's so many recipes out there for ground beef, so many ways to make it easier. That's typically my go-to. I'll eat chicken a lot, and obviously if I have like a steak or something, or if I have a one-off meal, we're good. But in terms of my meal prep, it's about 70% of the time it's going to be a ground beef, sometimes ground turkey, and the other 30 is going to be some sort of dish of chicken. That's pretty much it. I may do fish once in a while. Fish doesn't meal prep well. So let's take a look at these nutrition labels. So I need 50 grams of protein. So this is a 90-10 ground beef. This is a 93-7. So this kind of show you the differences. The serving sizes are typically almost always going to be something like 4 ounces, or what I recommend when you put that on your food scale, always using grams. But in this case, we're not going to use a food scale. So calories you're not really going to pay attention to, because I know if I'm using this from our protein source, it's going to hit the calories. I don't really need to take that into account. So 22 grams of protein, no carbohydrate, because meat doesn't have carbohydrates in it. And then 11 grams of fat. Now, in the slightly leaner version, we're getting 23 grams of protein for 4 ounces and 8 grams of fat. So that makes up either 200 calories or 170 calories. So you can see where the same 4 ounces is slightly lower calories, slightly leaner. Excuse me. So if I need, if servings, we need 50 grams of protein. One serving is 22 grams of protein, correct? So if we're looking at 20, 22, 23, and I need 50 grams of protein for this meal, I'm going to do 50 divided by 22 to arrive at that I need 2.27 servings. Okay. And you guys are going to see why once you do this once or twice, and why I just want you to start doing it, trial and error, that it gets really, really easy after that. So 50 divided by 22 is 2.27. So I need to figure out how many ounces that is. So this was a serving. So I'm going to do, to figure out the ounces, I'm going to do 2.27, which is how many servings I get. So how many 4-ounce servings? 2.27 times 4 was like 9.09. So 9 ounces. That gives me 50 grams of protein. Did everybody see where that come from? If I lost you, please tell me. I'll go through that again. But all we did is I need 50 grams of protein. Okay, how am I going to get that? This has 22 grams of protein per 4 ounces. So I need 2.27 of those 4 ounces servings. So 2.27 times 4, 9 ounces. That's going to yield 50 grams of protein. You can do that for any food that you want. So anything, if you kind of got to do those calculations in your head, they'll get real snappy and real quick as you start to do them. However, we got to look at our fat. So if we're not doing something like chicken or something super lean, it's probably going to have a little bit of fat with it. So 2.2 servings or 2.7 servings, because that's what we decided we needed in order to attain the most important macronutrient, which is the protein. So I get 50 grams of protein. Therefore, that's 2.27 servings, which also comes with some fat. So the 93% lean over here is 8 grams of fat per serving. And we're eating 2.27 servings to get our 50 grams of protein. So that 8 grams times 2.27 equals 18 grams of fat per meal if we go with the 93. If we go for the 90%, it's going to be 11 grams of fat per serving. And again, knowing we need 2.27 servings to get our 50 grams of protein, we're going to multiply that by that 11 grams of fat per serving. 2.27 of those gives me 25 grams of fat per meal. Now over here, I was supposed to eat about 22 grams of fat per meal, right? So that was my daily calculation. So I did my daily calculation divided by the number of meals that I want to eat. So this is my per meal calculation. So I'm going to be over about 3 grams of fat here. I'm going to be a little bit under, which is a good thing. So I have some more room if I choose the 93.7 lean ground beef. There we go. Right. So we're getting closer. So if I needed that 22 grams of fat per meal, 93% beef makes me 4 grams under. So I get looking for some sour cream, and 90% beef makes me 3 grams over my goals. So what do we do about that? What do we do for a little bit over? What do we do for a little bit under? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to pop up here. We've assessed our fats. We haven't talked about carbohydrates quite yet. We're going to talk about them a little bit, but carbs are easy. You're just filling in at the end and do whatever you want. So what we're going to look at now is, let's say that we chose that 93.7 beef and we have 4 grams of fat left over. That's not a lot. It's not a whole lot. So I would probably, I'm going to be making in my head this Fiesta Bowl. This is kind of like probably my number one go-to. I make this a lot. So it's just beef, black beans, rice. It's got some corn, tomato salsa in there. And then we'll do maybe sometimes some chipotle mayo or something. It's something, whatever. Don't really matter. So where were we at? I want to throw a little bit of sour cream in there usually. So what I'm going to do is, we chose the 93.7. We have 4 grams of fat left over. Here is light sour cream. Okay, this is the nutrition label straight from it. Pulled this straight from Walmart.com. So it's 2.5 grams of fat. And we also get about 2 grams of protein and about 2 grams of carbohydrate. So if one serving is 2.5 grams of fat, and I have 4 grams of fat left over from my per meal calculation after I subtracted the fat out from when I made beef, that means if I have 2 servings of this, which is going to be 4 tablespoons or 60 grams, which is, a considerable amount. That's enough for sure. Then I'm good. Now my fat requirements, I'm only 1 gram over on this. So for 3 times a day, only 3 grams over. And I'm supposed to have 60. That's not, that's perfect. That's great. And then that's only be a couple calories. So it also gave me 4 grams of protein, and I planned for 50 grams of protein for my beef. Now I got an extra 4. Now I'm really, really close to my 55 grams per meal. There you go. So stuff's just kind of magically working itself out. I didn't plan this before I did it. I was like, I'm just going to go and kind of do this, as we go along. So now we know. Now we're good. So with that, in that scenario, that's perfect. I just have my carbohydrate left over. I'm 1 gram over on my fat, 1 gram under on my protein. Can't get any better than that. I'm just going to put my carbohydrate sources in there. For me, it was black beans and some corn, and I'm just going to go until my calories are full and I'm solid. So, however, if you're like me, I really like 90-10 beef. Tastes so much better, I think. Even though it's not a huge difference. That's what I would pick. So let's say I choose that 90-10 and I have 3 grams of fat too much. Well, you would say, well, you don't have your room for sour cream then. And I would say, I'm going to have some anyways. So here's what I'm going to do. And here's why this can give you some freedom. So you don't feel like, oh, I can't have that. That's bad. Or, oh, that has too much fat or this or that. You can swap it out. All that matters is that you hit your calories and you hit your protein. The carbs and fats, do what you want, and knowing, it's not like, well, how do I find calories? We know that it comes from your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates. So this is a great tool. You guys can eat however you want to now. We're going to talk about that in a sec, but I still want some sour cream. Even if I'm over on my fat, I'm going to sacrifice carbohydrate because it's like, as you can tell, I put sour cream on everything. So again, I know 1 serving has 2.5 grams of fat. I know 2 servings, therefore, will have 5 grams of fat. I just looked at the nutrition label to find that out. But now, because I'm going to have 2 servings, I have 5 grams of fat over from the sour cream, and I'm already 3 grams of fat over from my beef because I chose a less lean ground beef. Means I'm 8 grams of fat over on my meal prep. Oh no, am I going to get in trouble? What's going to happen? I'm not going to hit my goals. So we know that fat is 9 calories per gram. 9 calories per gram times 8 grams is 72 calories. So this meal, if I just put those carbs in there like normal, I'm going to be 72 calories over. So here's what we do. I'm going to go up and I have too many calories. However, all my fat and protein is accounted for how I would like it to be. So I must reduce my carbohydrate for this meal. So how many carbohydrates then should I remove? Hopefully you guys have figured this out in your head already. 1 gram of carbohydrate, we know again from earlier, is 4 calories. So 72 from down here, right? I was over 8 grams of fat. Fat's 9 calories a gram. 9 times 8, 72. So I'm 72 calories over. So if I need to get 72 calories down and all I have left is my carbohydrate to manipulate, I'm going to do 72 divided by 4 because there's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate, which is going to tell me that I need to eat 18 grams less per meal if I'm going to go for a little bit higher fat. So 50 grams of carbohydrate was my initial target from all the way over here, remember? So daily and then my per meal total. So I got that 50. I'm going to subtract 18. That's going to leave me at 32 grams of carbohydrate. So my new per meal total for my meal prep that I just made with you guys here, it's going to be 54 grams of protein, 30 grams of fat, and 32 grams of carbohydrate. That's pretty dang close to what I wanted. So what do those calories work out to be? 54 grams of protein times 4, 30 grams of fat times 9, 32 grams of carbohydrate times 4. That's 216, 270, 128 calories from this meal. And then that is going to give me a total of 614. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to be at 618. So I'm 4 calories off. That's like fantastic. I wouldn't ever expect anybody to even be that close, but that's great. So when we go shop now, let me pause there. Okay. Just so everybody can kind of soak that in. So all we did, figured out our protein. So we started with our information from our eating guide. So you can trust that. You got that. And then we divided that by how many times we want to eat per day. And now we know what our per meal totals are. We started with our protein. Our protein had some fat in it. And then we pulled some of that, leftover fat out. And maybe if you're over, you're under, we just figured out what to do. You're going to manipulate your carbohydrates and you're good to go. And you don't have to be perfect every single meal because let's say you're perfect at breakfast or you're a little off at lunch. Well, you can adjust at dinner or vice versa. You can do whatever you want. It's just at the end of the day and really at the end of the week because you're going to have off days, days you're a little higher, days are a little lower. We're going to average out for the week and see what happens. And that's totally okay. So now we have this plan. Okay. So we know what we're going to make. And this takes a while. It just takes some time to plan this out. And when you're not used to it, but when you realize that 4 ounces of beef is almost always 20 to 25 grams of protein. So 80-20 beef is going to be closer to 20. The 96-4 is going to be closer to 24, 25. But 4 ounces of beef is going to get you, 8 ounces are going to get you about 40 to 45 grams of protein. Same thing with chicken. 4 ounces of chicken is going to yield you about 25 grams of protein. This stuff doesn't change. So once you do it a couple times and you trial and error this for a little bit, you're good. You're solid. But now you got to go to the grocery store and you got to shop and actually cook all that stuff. So this is what we're going to do now. So let's say we decided to use that a little bit more lean beef for a bowl here. And we are shopping for this at the grocery store. So we needed, if you remember, 2.27 servings of beef per Fiesta bowl, right? That's per meal prep that we're going to do. We need 2.27 of these servings here. Hey, I just figured out how to do my chat. Sorry, I was excited about that. That helps me out a ton. Let me see here. So that's because Amber is participating. Thank you. Help me out. It made it pop up on my screen. So if we need 2.27 servings of beef per bowl, we figured that out earlier, right? And I need 4 meals for lunch this week. Okay. So that's typically what I do. I usually do 4 lunches. And if I'm really buckling down, I'll go ahead and I'll prep 4 more different meals so that I have kind of like 2 to go back and forth with through the whole week. And I don't have to cook dinner. I'm solid. And then usually Monday I work from home. So I make all my food right here at home. And on the weekends, I kind of do whatever I want and I just make my macros fit. If I'm being honest, it involves Budweiser and pizza a lot. So I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So you don't have to starve yourself, right? As long as we're using these tools, we can account for those things and we're great. So how much beef am I going to have to take home? So if I'm going to do 4 meals and I need 2.27 servings of beef for those 4 meals, that's 2.27 times 4, that's 9.08 servings. So I'm just going to say 9. Okay. And remember, a serving is 4 ounces. Everybody's still following me, right? Please just tell me, repeat, whatever, if you need me to go over that again. So one serving is 4 ounces. We need 9.08. So 4 times 9 is 36 ounces. You don't get an ounce, a package at the store. You need to see, in pounds. So 36 divided by 16 is 2.25 pounds. So when I go to the grocery store, I need to get at least 2.25 pounds. Or if we got 2.2, we'd be good. If you're getting close to this, you're going to absorb some errors. You're going to be all right. Remember, we don't live in spreadsheets. So this so happens to be exactly the package that, or the size of the package that ground beef comes in, 2.25 pound packages. So that's fantastic. So for whoever this is, then there you go. You know exactly what to do. So you can prep 4 pounds or 4 meals per package. And now you're solid. So now I know what to take home. And then shopping for your carbohydrates, just because they're mostly shelf stable. I always have like a 10-pound bag of rice. I always have like 4 to 10 of the little rice pouches. Those are super tasty, super quick. Weeks that I'm busy, I have the seasoning. It's like Chicka Bam Bam or something like that for chicken. Literally throw that on tenderloins, sear them or throw them in the oven, and then I heat up that rice and I'm done. I'll add some frozen vegetables in there for my fiber, and that's it. So like I can do that, no kidding, in like 15 minutes, and I prep like 10 meals doing it that way. So I keep a lot of those in there, and then just potatoes and sweet potatoes and cans of canned vegetables and frozen vegetables and black beans I like a lot in a lot of things. So stuff like that. I just, all my carbohydrates are generally always in here. I just stay stocked up. So your protein is really the only thing that you're going to be shopping for every single week. But again, you see very quickly how easily this is going to be a repetitive thing. It doesn't take long to figure out. So now I'm going to cook this bad boy. So I'm going to, rather than, I know Amber had asked last week about raw weight versus cooked weight. And I told you we'll get into a mess if we try and do those calculations. So rather than your option being figure out what the cooked weight is and then weigh everything there and try and make these meals perfect, you just put it all in one big pan. And or like if you don't have a big enough pan, I would cut it in half and I put it half my balls over here and half my balls over there. But what I do is I get a big pan. I can put a 2.5 pound package in there. I cook my meat how I want to. So in this case, Fiesta bowl, I'm going to do some taco seasoning. And then I get my 4 bowls out and I'm going to eyeball it. And I'm going to distribute it through these 4 bowls. So what I'll actually do is I'll put them on my food scale and I'll zero that bad boy out and I'll go to like 6.5. Put the next one on there like 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. And if I notice like, okay, this one has like 7.5 in it, then I try and divide that up a little bit. And then I'm close. It's going to be about as close as you can possibly get. They don't got to be exact. That does not matter at all. So I'm going to stick these in my little glass meal prep containers on my food scale. And I'm going to put in some rice. I'm going to put in some black beans. I'm going to put in some corn. But I just got to make sure, same thing. I'm going to get on the back of the label on my black beans. And I'll say, okay, I got 33 grams of carbohydrate to go. And I want to do some salsa, some corn, and lettuce doesn't really have any carbohydrate in it, and some black beans. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to divide that by 3. And I'm going to say, okay, I need 30 grams of protein, or 30 grams of carbohydrate for this meal. So I get these 3 carb sources. That means I need 10 grams of carbohydrate each. Serving size says that I'm going to get 11 grams per serving of carbohydrate. So boom, again, within 5%, I'm not going to worry about making it 10 and doing a math calculation and all this. I'm just going to do 11 grams. So 11 grams, so that would be 1 serving of black beans. Now let's say my corn says it's 5 grams of carbohydrate per serving. So I'm going to do 2 servings of that and go from there. And those are small numbers. So just kind of side note, when you're eating 30 grams of carbs per meal, get some vegetables, things that are going to have some bulk with it so that you're a little bit fuller. Because otherwise that's it. But Otherwise, that's it. You're done. That guy gives you thumbs up. I give you thumbs up. You're going to try that for a week. You're going to see how it works out. And you're going to try a new recipe next week. And you're going to do that 4 times for 4 weeks. And you're going to be solid. So we just went through a lot there. But as you can see, hopefully that's not overly overwhelming. So that was the big thing from tonight. I have a few small things to talk about. But does anybody have any questions about meal prep?